Hey all, Altarian here with another Godzilla review. Today we'll be taking a look at the NECA Classic 1994 Godzilla. This guy just released relatively recently, a couple weeks ago, and it's NECA's third Godzilla figure that they released. The first two being the 6-inch tall 2014 figure, and the second one being the 12-inch tall 2014 figure. So those were the first two. They were really, really great. I did a review on the 6-inch tall one last week, and this week we'll be taking a look at the 1994 one. He's definitely a good figure. I don't think he's as good as the 2014 one is. I do have a couple issues with him. So we'll take a closer look here at him, and we'll start off with articulation. So we'll start at the head. So we'll start up here with the head here. So the head, the mouth opens and closes. It does open and close quite a bit, which is pretty nice. The neck rotates, and it does a little up and down action here. It looks like this part should move, but it doesn't, and I don't really like that. I kind of wish it did, or if they planned on it not moving, that they would have at least sculpted it all into one piece instead of having it be separate looking. I don't think it looks as good separate. So that's the head. Like I said, rotates, does a little up and down, the mouth opens and closes. We'll go to the arms next. So the arms, the shoulder joint here, rotates around 360. Well, 360-ish. It rotates 360, goes up and down, and then does a little back and forth action here. And then there's another joint here, this bit rotates. It moves back and forth a little bit. Like I said, rotates 360, rotates back and forth. The elbow joint, it's kind of limited, but it does rotate. And then, of course, you can see the joint there. It does move around. I do like the arm articulation on this one better than the 2014. I think it's done a bit better. And then, of course, the hand here opens and closes. You can see that. So the arm articulation on this one I think is a bit better than the 2014's. You can do a bit more with him. Same thing with I'm gonna call it the body joint here. It moves a bit more. Like I said, it moves back and forth. It moves forward and backward. It has a lot wider range of movement at this joint than the 2014 one does, which I do think is really nice. And with his spines, how they are, it kind of hides it better when he's turned than the design of the 2014 spines do. So like I said, this is a better joint. The arms are better. And now we'll move on to the legs here. They don't move as much. They still do the back and forth, and they do rotate. They don't rotate a full 360. That's pretty much all you're going to get. I mean, they do that. That's the leg rotation. They don't really go in and out at all. A tiny, tiny bit, but they don't move in or out that much. The knees, when I first got him, I didn't think the knees moved, but I kept seeing this, and I thought, oh, that's a joint, so they have to move. And they do, but mine are really, really stiff. Like, I can move that one that much with a little effort, and this one just doesn't really want to move much at all. So I don't know what's really going on with the knees. One of them moves, and the other one doesn't. So that's kind of weird. And then the foot does the same back and forth, and of course can also do the full 360. And the knees also rotate just like the 2014s. So that's pretty similar. The tail, the articulation on the tail is a little bit better. As you can see here, it does wiggle back and forth. There's not as many tail parts that move. This one only has that. Again, this top bit doesn't move much. It moves a little bit, but not much. It does rotate. And then it looks like there should be another joint here, but there's not. This moves, and again, that wiggles a decent amount. And then this moves and wiggles a decent amount. And then, of course, here's the joint where the wired bit of the tail plugs into. Again, this is wired just like the 2014's one was, and the wire feels a little looser or more flexible. It's not as what's the word I'm looking for, stiff as the wire in the 2014's tail is. So that's kind of nice. It could be good, could be bad. It might break easier. I don't really know. I don't plan on messing with them too much once I have them like displayed somewhere. But that's pretty much all the articulation here. Like I said, in some places he is better than the 2014s, like the arms, this joint, and then the tail is a little more wiggly than the 2014s is. But the rest is pretty similar. So we're going to go on to paint now. I don't know how well it's coming across in the video, but I mean, it's obvious for the claws The claws are bluish green, and I don't really know why. We'll bring his hand up here. You can kind of see they're bluish green, especially on the feet. You can see it. And I know that's not just mine. I've seen pictures of other people's that have the same problem, so that's really weird. And he does have a green finish on him, and you can kind of see that in the light reflecting on him. You can see that green finish, which doesn't make sense. Godzilla's charcoal black. He's not green. He shouldn't have any really green on him at all. So that kind of is annoying. So paint-wise, that bothers me. He has a really nice eye paint job. Like, his eyes are really, really good. And then the details in his mouth, the paint in there is really, really nice. It actually looks kind of like wet, like saliva in there, which is cool. So that's nice. And then, of course, the spines, they have a really nice little paint job and texture to them. And texture-wise, again, they did a great job with Godzilla's texture. It's just that green, like, paint finish that's really, really off. And then, of course, the blue claws is also kind of annoying. So hopefully they'll fix that on future releases or something, because that isn't very nice. Or hopefully on the next one they make, which is the 85, they'll take off this green paint app, because it doesn't look right. And in the wrong light, it's really, really noticeable. Like, where I have these guys sitting, it's not super noticeable for me, but in this light, it's a lot more noticeable. So paint-wise, he's okay. If he didn't have the green, I think he'd be a lot better, and maybe the claws wouldn't be greenish, because it's the same kind of shade as what's on his body, so maybe there was a mis-accident or something when they were doing the paint on him. Sculpt-wise, I think his sculpt is pretty good. I really only have one issue with his sculpt, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So again, his head, we'll take a closer look at his head here. He has a really, really nice head. Like, I like the sculpt on his head quite a bit. Let's see, I just tried to touch his head to focus it. It is a pretty nice head sculpt on him. So if I get the light better, it's not going to work. Yeah, whatever. So his head is nice. You can see a lot of the nice little details on the nose, and again on the side of his head. You can see his ears and the nice texture. And again, the spines are really nicely sculpted. They look just like they're supposed to look. The arms, I don't really have an issue with the arms. The arms look about right. Same thing with the majority of his upper body. His body looks pretty good. He's got a nice body on him, this Godzilla does. The only real issue I have is in here. I'm not really sure if it's the legs are too long or the tail is too thin. I feel like the tail is supposed to be thicker, or the legs are supposed to be shorter. Like I said, I can't really tell which one it is. If you give me a second here, I'm going to cut to the other Heisei era Godzilla that I have, so we can kind of see how that one looks and see if we can get a comparison. So we'll be back here in just a minute. Alright, and we're back here. This is the Diamond Select Toys Godzilla Bank. This isn't the 94 Godzilla, it's from 1989. But they have pretty similar sculpts for the most part. And like I said, you can kind of see here, this area looks different. Like I said, I can't tell. I think the legs might be a little... I think the legs are the right length, but I think the tail is what's supposed to be thicker. If we have that, and then that... Like I said, I think it's the tail that's the problem. I think the tail isn't thick enough. And the tail on this figure in general is kind of disappointing. It's a really, really short tail. At least it seems like it's really short. The Heisei tail should be a lot longer, I feel, than it is. I mean, it's kind of disappointing how short the tail is. The 2014's tail was amazing, and this tail, I feel, is definitely a bit shorter. So that's really my issue with the sculpt. Overall, it's pretty good. But it kind of suffers with the leg-tail area. The tail should have been thicker and definitely should have been longer. So that was really my only issue with the sculpt, is the tail. So kind of to wrap it up here, I'm going to cut to some size comparisons so we can kind of see how he compares to some of the other figures that I have. I'm probably going to do this with every Godzilla review I do. I'll do some size comparisons and then show them with the entire collection that I have. So I'm going to cut to some size comparisons, then I'll be back with a wrap-up, and then, yeah, we'll be done. Alright, and first off here we have him compared to the NECA 6-inch tall 2014 Godzilla figure. And here he is compared to the Bandai Creations Millennium Series Godzilla. And lastly, compared to my entire collection, we have the Bandai Creations Millennium Series Godzilla on the left next to the 1954 Bandai Creations Godzilla, and then in the back we have the Diamond Select Toys 1989 Godzilla, and in front of him is the Destruction Pack 2014 Godzilla, and then the Hallmark 2014 Godzilla ornament, and the Running Press Lights and Sounds Godzilla. And then, of course, we have the two NECA figures. We have the 2014 NECA figure, and then the 1994 Godzilla NECA figure. And behind them is the 2014 Atomic Roar figure. Now we're going to cut back to the main review. Right, and we're back with a wrap-up. So, overall, like I said, he is a decent figure. I felt like the 2014 figure, like I said, would hopefully stand up to the Monster Arts version. This guy, I feel like a Monster Arts version of him would blow him away. I know there are some high-side versions of Godzilla out there by Monster Arts have made, and they're amazing looking, and they're definitely better than this figure. If you can get him for $20, he's absolutely worth that price. But I don't really think he's worth more than the $20. Like the 2014 figure you can get for like 30 or so. That's justifiable if you can't find it for 20. But this guy, I don't think I would pay more than $20 for him. He is good. He is a very good figure, but he's not at the same level as Monster Arts are, and he's not at the same level as the 2014 figure even was. He is very good. I am happy with him overall. He is worth the $20, but again, I wouldn't pay more than that. So that's pretty much all I have to say about him. I'll be back here on Friday with another video. I haven't decided if it's going to be like a vloggy thing for the channel's future, or what. Maybe a different review or something. I'm not really sure. But I'll be back on Friday with something. And if you like my videos, please subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.